This time I'm going to be making a giant mallet. Now the design I'm going for is going to be Harley Quinn's because that is the most famous giant mallet that I'm aware of. Now I'm doing this design because it's easy and relatively quick because I have 2 days before I have to put a video up, or I've missed over a month. Now I'm sorry about missing so much time between videos. This hasn't really been intentional, but I've been distracted putting together the big build for the summer, and this happens. Sorry. To make this I'm going to be using a few EVA foam tiles, a bit of plastic conduit, and some craft foam as well. Okay, right. Okay, do not put that on the sword that's holding up the camera. Right, to start off with, I'm going to be taking all of the jigsaw edges off of the foam tiles, because when you put these together in the end you can clearly see the like zigzags on the foam, and you can hide a straight edge much more easily. So that's where I'm starting. Once I've done that, I'm going to stick 2 of them together crossways like that, so it curls up to become a giant circle. Then that will make a cylinder hopefully about this long. Again, I'm going to make it sillily big. Okay, I've stuck the 2 mats together like that. I was going to add a little bit extra, but then when I saw it next to me, it's already ridiculously oversized, so I decided to stick with it like that. And then I stuck the 2 together. I put masking tape down the outside and then filled up to the masking tape so it covers up the lines better. I've needed to do a little bit of correcting on there, but not that much, and it's not that terrible to look at the end. Now I've made the 2 seams, the top and bottom, and inside I've put a 10cm square at each point where I'm going in, because the staff's going to be through the centre of the hammer. And I put 1 at each side and then marked the cross where it's going to be. Then on the inside, as you can see there, I've put 2 support pillars just so it can actually take some weight, and it'll still deform like that, and you still won't be able to hurt anyone with it, but it'll hold its shape being a circle. Now I did that, I cut 2 strips, stuck them together at 90 degrees to make an L bar, and then put it across the shape, or put it across the hammer, and then cut. And then just stuck it inside to the 2 reinforcement plates. The next part I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have to get another 2 mats because I didn't think about the end of this thing. And I'm going to get them and put it down like that on the mat, draw around the inside, and then cut out the circle, or cut around the outside. Either's an option, it depends if you want the line here to hide or the line in there to hide. It's entirely up to you when you make it. I think I might actually go around the outside, because then I've got a flat surface to mess around with at the end on both ends. And then I'm just going to stick those 2 on once I've cut them out, and that's it. I've stuck an end on both ends of the mallet, as you can see there. It's now just a giant wooden... Wooden? What the heck are you talking about, hey? Seriously, girl. Okay, so it's now a giant rubber hollow thing. Again, this has quite a bit of give, and once you drill holes in it, it's going to have loads of give. So it's, well, I'd say it's safe. I mean, that did not hurt at all. It's just rubber mats and bends. Just quite lucky for cons, at least. Even though I wouldn't advise hitting someone over the head with it in a con, you'd still get in trouble, but, you know, it would be harmless. Right, so now that I'm done making the actual head, I'm going to put the hole in for the shaft, which is going to be drilling through here. I'm going to be drilling this with a hole saw. If you don't have a hole saw, you can cut it out with a knife. If you want to, you could cut it out beforehand, but because I know I have hole saws, I'm okay cutting it out now. And that's it, just get a drill, put a hole saw through it. If you're young and you shouldn't be using drills and power tools, feel free to ask parents. But when forming when forming these, you have to use a hot air gun in order to make it hold a cylindrical shape like that, because when I started it was more of an elliptical. But you just warm it up on the inside, warm it up on the outside, and while it's all stuck together it will just take on a cylindrical shape. Okay, so I have a tiny little hammer here, as you can see. Now the hole I drilled was a little bit too big, so I may have put some extra around the edges just to stuff it in, and then just glued around it using plenty of glue. As you can see, not going anywhere. The thing itself bends like egg, but if you're holding it down this end, this stick will bend. But yeah, unless you're using a solid wood post, at which point I've seen those taken off people going into cons for having wooden sticks, so that's why I stick to the plastic conduit. But around the bottom now I have this ugly bit because of the mess I made, and the same on top as well, like there. So I'm going to make a ring to go on top. Now to do that I'm just going to get two hole saws. One is much bigger than the pipe and one that is slightly smaller than the pipe but should just about work. And then I'm going to make basically a washer, slide it on, and then stick it on, one on both sides, and that'll cover up all of that mess. And then I can pretend it never happened. Okay, as you can see, when they first come out they are quite messy and quite, well, nasty around the edges because of the hole saw. Now I'm just going to go around them with this pair of scissors and just cut off all of the spikes and stuff so it ends up more like that. So it ends up more of a foam washer. I did the second one by hand. If you're going to do that, be very careful, these things are sharp. I've destroyed a phone with one, by accident of course. So very careful, go through very slowly and try to keep your hand away from anything that's turning if you do it by hand. But you can also cut it with a knife. And then be careful with the knife, of course. Okay, right. I've now got one of the washers on in that position. The other one's going to be easy to put on as well, and I just stick them with hot glue, same as everywhere else, and hold them down for the time they're there, and then that'll make a nice bit of grip on there. Okay, now made the top and bottom little spikes. They're not that good, they're going to need some work to finish them, but I mean for now they're decent, so I'm going to finish them and then stick them on. Now I'm just going to put the pipe in the hole with some glue in there so it sticks, and that's it for that. Yes, unfortunately I was a bit of an idiot when I used the grinder and I'm now partially deaf, so from shouting, my apologies, it'll be gone in a bit. Should have worn ear protection. It's a good lesson when using these things. But now this is going to be going off to paint soon, so well, the next stage is painting. So on the EVA foam up here I'm going to be heat treating it, so I'm just going to run a heat gun over it till it all turns the darker colour. Now it doesn't involve much heat, but that will seal it, and that means the paint won't be absorbed. It is the easiest and cheapest way to do it. If you want to use the more expensive and better method, you can use Plasti Dip or PVA glue or Mod Podge, I believe Americans call it. And then, yeah, just paint over it. I'm going to be doing it a base colour of white, then I'm going to decide what I'm going to make it look like afterwards. I'm honestly thinking red and black, just because. And these spikes went on, that's what I was doing with the grinder. Okay. And for painting this section, or the main handle, that handle really does look small, doesn't it? It's sort of silly, but I don't know. It works. So for this pipe, which is smooth plastic, the paint won't actually stick to it and just come off. Now to do that, to paint on it, I've got to put a key on it, which I'm going to use this. It's just a scouring pad, or I believe Americans call it Scotch-Brite for some reason, but this one is a generic, very cheap scouring pad and works. So let's just do that, rub it until you've got the surface all roughed up. Once you've got the surface roughed up, it means the paint can go into the little like scratches and bits like that, which gives it a greater surface area to stick to. Also, if you're sticking two smooth surfaces together, it's best to do this because it then makes the glue stick better. It's only through surface area that I'm okay with that end bit and bits down there. On the other end. And that's one hammer ready for painting. Now that I've sealed the hammerhead and the points and everything else and prepared the staff, I'm now going to start painting it. Now for the first layer, I'm going to do solid white across here and do a white spiral down the pole. Then after that, it's just different layerings, so then I'm going to paint red on one side and black on the other and do the white spiral down there all in red. And of course do the spiral on top as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the paint job. This one is going to look like a rubber mallet, because it basically is. If you want to do a wooden one, you can carve some like wood grain into here. You can do that with, well, Dremel, sandpaper, or any way you want to put it in. But I've decided not to in this case, just for speed. But if you do a wooden one, you get bits of craft foam as well. So you put a ring around the outside for the purposes of banding, and that will just make it look more like it's a proper wooden mallet instead of being a big rubber one like this. But I wanted to go for the more animated look. It just felt more appropriate, that's all. So here we go. Lots and lots and lots of paint. I've now done the paint coat across the surface. This is just an undercoat, so it doesn't really need to look good or be that thick. As you can see, it looks quite terrible there. Now I'm going to do the... I think I'll do red first, because it's easier to hide red under black than black under red. sufficiently big. I mean, compared to me. Okay. Right. So, last time I believe I put the layer of red on, and that's where I stopped filming because I ran out of time in the day. I did the other 2 coats when I was rushing out to go to a convention. So, again, you can see little issues with the paint coat there where it gets a little thin. If I was going to be taking this to shows, I would do a second coat on it, but again, for demonstration purposes, there's not really much point using that much paint. Now, this is just black one side, red the other, but you paint the red first just because it's easier to cover over red with black than it is to go over black with red, because you'll be able to see it shining through because this paint's really thin. And then for the diamonds, I cut a diamond out of paper and then drew around it and then painted in the lines. Then just arranged it in pattern. You can see that I haven't got it perfectly aligned, but it's worked out okay. And of course I did the red and white down the pole, which is there. I really need to turn that off. And apart from that, that's it. That's the end of the paint job. If you want your paint to last a really long time, be durable, you use a sealer on top. But again, this thing's been made for demonstration purposes, so it doesn't last that much. Now with the 21mm pipe that I've got, it bends like that. Quite a bend, but again, as long as you're not actually swinging it and trying to hurt people, you should be okay. And if you don't want to do that, you can just use the thicker pipe. To be fair, this one is comedically small, and I like it for that. But and of course, if you want to put anything on top of here, or write anything on it, just paint it on. I just draw it on in chalk first if I was going to, and then paint it on afterwards within the chalk lines and then rub them off. Because chalk's brilliant for wiping things off. Okay, and that's my hammer. Okay, there's not really much I would do to improve this. As far as a basic rubber mallet goes, it's pretty much fine. If you want to look up more detail for ends of staff and like staff paintings, it's fine, but I don't know, I'd be happy to, chase people with this. Especially due to the fact that I know it's not harmful. I mean, the sides just, when you hit it, the sides just deform like that. Kids play mats. Okay, and that's it. Sorry about being slightly late with this one, and hopefully I'll have something else next time. Hopefully. Yeah. One big ass hammer. Don't break anything, don't break anything, don't break anything. Okay. Don't break anything. Slight hammer. Little hammer. No biggie. At some point I'm going to stop knocking those stilts over, but not probably when they're back where they're meant to be. Okay. Come on, round, get round, don't break everything. Okay.